are you wondering which piping tips I used to make all those flowers? Hey guys, welcome to Baking Butterly Love. So if you're just getting into cake decorating, I'm sure you've seen either on Instagram or Pinterest or here on YouTube some really cool cakes decorated with piped buttercream flowers. And one of the questions I get asked a lot when I post a picture is, which piping tip did you use? So while I'm always happy to tell you the specific tip numbers, I thought it would be a good idea to explain the different kinds of piping tips that you can use to make buttercream flowers. So in this video, I'm going to break it down into 3 general categories for you, show you each kind of piping tip and what kind of flowers they make. Okay, so first up are drop flower tips. These do come in all sorts of sizes and they have a star-shaped opening. There's also a little metal rod in the center that helps keep each petal separate when you're piping. So these tips make what people call drop flowers or swirl drop flowers because you basically just pipe and twist to form your flower. The flowers end up all looking kind of the same, just a simple little blossom with 5 or 6 petals. You can change up the look of these a little by using different size tips or changing the colors, but in the end they all do look pretty similar. So the drop flower tips are really easy to use, but you don't have a ton of options to change up the way they look. I would say these are a really good choice for a beginner. I do have a video with more detail on how to use these drop flower tips, so I'll leave a link for that in case you're interested. Now the next broad category are Russian piping tips. These are huge piping tips, and what's really cool about them is that they pipe a flower with lots of little pieces all in one go. I have just a basic set of these Russian piping tips and that's been plenty for me, but there must be a million different patterns out there. I've seen so many different varieties advertised online. These tips all make sort of a cylindrical shaped flower, but like I said, they have like a million different patterns for these. They will also generally all be about the same height because they start to look a little bit weird if you pipe them either too short or too tall. You can change up the look of these flowers by filling your piping bag with more than one color of buttercream, which really helps them pop because you'll have a contrast between the outer petals and the inner petals of these flowers. Now, I would say that the Russian piping tips are pretty easy to use, but you can run into a little bit of trouble if you don't have the right consistency buttercream. They need to be used with a fairly stiff buttercream to keep all those little pieces distinct. So overall, I would say using Russian piping tips is a beginner to intermediate skill level. They're easy to use, but you really have to practice first and get the hang of exactly how much pressure to use when piping. And I do have a video specifically on these Russian piping tips as well. You can check below for the link. And for our last category, but certainly not least, we have your basic petal piping tips. So the most basic petal tips come in tons of different sizes, but they all have this basic sort of teardrop shape. There's a thicker end and a thinner end, and that thinner end is what makes the delicate edges on your flower petals. Now, while the drop flowers and the Russian piping tips pipe flowers all in one motion, with petal tips, you're going to pipe flowers out petal by petal. So they're a little harder to use, but you get the advantage of having a ton of control over what your flower looks like. Not only can you play around with colors and sizes, but you can also change so much just based on the angle that you're holding your piping tip. You can easily pipe something like these simple little flowers, or with practice, you can learn to pipe something way more complex. Now, that's just the basic petal tip, but I did want to mention real quick that there are a bunch of specialized petal tips as well. So just to show you a few examples, here are some petal tips that are curved. Some look like these little U shapes, which are what I use to pipe mums. And then there are also tips with even thinner openings to make really thin petals. Okay, so you've got all that down, right? Drop flowers make simple little blossoms, Russian tips make flowers that are a bit more complex but still pretty easy to pipe, and petal tips allow you to get really creative and pipe more realistic looking flowers petal by petal. And now that you know all of your petal tips, I have a pop quiz question for you. Do you think that these flowers were all piped with the same piping tip? And the answer is yes. All of these flowers were piped with this little guy right here, my trusty number 104 petal tip. I did use some small round tips for the centers, but all of the petals were piped with just the one tip. It's pretty cool, right? And are you like super excited now to go start piping some flowers?
Freaking excited!
If you're like, yes, that's me, I want to pipe flowers, but I still don't really know where to start, well, I've put together a Buttercream Flower Basics course just for you. So if you're interested, let me give you a quick peek inside the course so you can see what you'll be learning and what's included. So the course is all online. You can watch it from anywhere at any time, and the first thing I'll show you is how to prepare your buttercream and specifically how to get the best consistency for piping flowers. I go over how to use your petal tip and a flower nail, then work through several categories of flowers: basic or flat flowers, layered flowers, and upright flowers. All of the flower piping videos are in real time and show multiple angles so that you can really see what's going on. By the end, you'll be able to pipe basic blossoms, violets, daisies, zinnias, anemones, daffodils, roses, ranunculus, and peonies. Plus, at the end, I demonstrate some leaves and fillers and also how to arrange everything on your cakes. I put everything I know about piping flowers into this course while still keeping it super simple and beginner friendly. That's why every flower you'll learn is piped with just one basic petal tip. I wanted to make it easy for you to go from complete beginner to confident cake decorator. So if that sounds super fun to you, click the link in the description and you can sign up for Buttercream Flower Basics today. And guys, once you get the basics down, it's really fun. There's a whole world of ways to pipe flowers. There's so much room for creativity and so many ways you can put your own spin on things and pipe amazing looking flowers. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.